Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, one agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings, coming at you one day late, but never a dollar short.
The old dirty bastard, straight from the Brooklyn Zoo.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Excuse me. And this here podcast comes from, comes in conjunction. I don't know why I'm doing that, but you can also find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Indeed. Well, it's going to take me a second to stop saying podcasts. I realized that. It was like, it just kind of buffered there for a second. But, folks, we are coming to you a day late and slightly later than normal, but hey, things happen. But so we're going to kick this off with some spoiler-free, spoiler-light discussion on the Acolyte episode 5 entitled Night.
Right. So I think the best way I can describe this episode is it all goes down. Also, if you recall the 2014 Godzilla movie, let them fight. And that's what happens. And I forget the name of, I believe it's like a metal group. They had a song called Let the Bodies Hit the Floor, because that's what happens in this episode. And I'll hand it off to Roddykat for more of the details. I just wanted to give some overall impressions.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much the gist of it. There was a body count. Absolutely. And not the Ice-T body.
Oh, and that Ice-T body count, right? You were just about to say it, right?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, man, it's like I said, even though it's been a few days prior to us recording this, I still don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, it happened. Like the 7 said, things kind of went down. We got a reveal finally, which the reveal, while people were just hot and heavy, just quote unquote spoiling it, because they were talking about, who they were talking about the character in question and the range and all this on because and shout out, and other stuff. I was going to call him by his good place name, but I can't remember that. But
Jason,
yes. He's from Jacksonville. But
Portals.
Yeah. So, and they were talking, and people have been talking about that. I was like, okay. Granted, that I say spoiler, quote unquote, was because it was kind of telegraphed.
Yeah, a lot of people picked up on this fairly early. We don't know if that's exactly that's the entirety of the episode of the mystery, right? Because there are still some mysteries left to be unfolded, but we don't know for sure if this is in fact the character who is behind everything, or if there is an even bigger baddie out there. So we will see. But right. I'll let Roddykat continue.
Right, as folks may or may, if Star Wars fans may or may not know, if the rule of twos may still be in play here. So yeah, we don't know if this character is indeed the master or the apprentice, because they do say something that kind of makes you question one way or the other. And yeah, honestly, the biggest mystery at this point to me, with the 3 more episodes to go, has to do with one of the main characters and what actually went down in the past, which we are still going to get to. There was, let's just say, the whole episode, well, half the episode was a pretty much, depending on who you talk to, a spectacular set of fights or one big fight that was just kind of staggered in sections.
Right. Right. I mean, listen, it's not that big a spoiler. It is a spoiler, but it's always disheartening to see Jedi get pawned or owned.
Yes.
It's disheartening because when you grow up as a kid, you're just like, oh, the Jedi are awesome, and then you get to this point in life, and you're like, well, maybe not so much.
Yeah, especially depending on some people, because there are some people who are like, no, the Jedi have never been great, and it's always been about the villains and blah blah blah. Yeah, continue. I'm like, yeah. And I know some fairly decent people who are like that, but it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
whatever, rooting for the bad guys, necessarily make all that, but whatever, man. Have your things. But yeah, going into this episode, realistically, you see things. Even if you come out of the last episode, coming into this one, you kind of see where some things are going during the course of the thing, even before it happens.
Right.
So it's kind of like, well, did you call this one, or did you call that one, or did you call these ones, or did you call that one? Because the unnamed. Let's just put it is it's not a spoiler. There's some unnamed folks in here that probably don't make it through the episode.
Right.
But may or may not be a surprise as to who doesn't make it through the episode.
Right. There's some epic scenes. There's some epic deaths. It's very sad to see some of them, and there's a little bit of some more Parent Trap stuff going on, because when you're dealing with twins, it's an easy trope to follow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is indeed true. And actually that got brought up, which I won't go too far into that, but because there was a video I was watching, and was like, well, how come so and so didn't pick up on such and such a? I'm like, because he wasn't thinking about it during it. He had no reason to during that, or maybe he does know.
We also don't know, right? We don't know if that's just something he's holding back.
Right. I'm personally of the mind that they probably do know, and it's like, okay, it was coming to this. At some point, it was coming to this, but who don't know. Sometimes the Jedi can be a little ignorant,
right?
So who's to say? But we'll find out. And like I said, the only thing that's left in these next couple of issues is the kind of the main thing that I'm really concerned about at this point, outside of one or two deaths, one death in particular. Again, spoiler light is. That being said, though, yeah, I mean, like I said, the fight in itself was worth the price of admission. The reveal, sure, we kind of saw that one, or most people probably saw that one,
right? And also the character reveals arms, because apparently that blew up the internet.
Yes, and videos of fight practice also.
Gotcha. It makes me want to do some curls right now.
You joke, but yeah, that was like, okay, dude, you gotta cut. Let me get the resistance bands out or something.
No, resistance band.
Hey, look, if you use what you got, right? Use what you got.
Exactly.
But shout out to Benji Games who pops in. What's up, good sir?
How are you? Sorry for starting so late, but life and gaming. Ha!
Yes. Yes. Funny story about that, which may come out at some point. But right now. So yeah, there's really not much else to talk about with the Acolyte. Like, hey, 5 episodes. Goodness. 5 episodes in, got 3 left. It's all downhill from here.
Right. I was about to say the comedic part of that is, I believe, even in our earliest stages of the show, when we had all 4 members of the Voltron on, some people would call comic book issues episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So it happens.
Mm-hmm. So good. We're keeping things alive.
Exactly.
And with that, folks, we're going to move to the next show that we're going to talk about, which is My Adventures with Superman, Season 2, Episode 5, The Machine Who Would Be Empire.
Right. So I was, we're obviously not too surprised by the reveal, but we're still mildly surprised because I'm just not familiar with Superman and Supergirl canon enough to understand if there really is a difference with this character's variation on a name, right? Because it's a two-part name. The second part of the name is obviously something we're all familiar with, but the first part of the name threw me off just for a second.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Like Primus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, is that like a comic book thing? I don't know where that reference is from. I don't know.
I'm gonna say no. I think they just kind of threw it in there as a
they just made that right. They just made that their own thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I presume so, but I just needed to, I had not cared enough, to be perfectly honest, to look it up.
Fair.
But ultimately, that was the one thing I bumped on. Otherwise, the other thing I didn't bump on, but was just disappointed in because it just kills off. It kills off like crossover efforts. We're so used to the Marvel universe, all of the Marvel stuff being interconnected. But I guess if you're not going to have a Justice League, you're just going to have a Superman cartoon, you don't necessarily have to see Thanagarians. I was kind of like, wait, why would you do that? Like, why don't you call it like Thanagar 2 or something? You know what I mean?
I was going to agree with you for a second, but it doesn't necessarily stop.
It doesn't eliminate them, right? It doesn't eliminate it as a possibility.
Right. Because for all we know, things could have happened before what happened in the thing. But yeah, so at this point, it's pretty much, these are Easter eggs for something we knew that was in the world. We just hadn't seen in this particular show that have come to light. So, I guess to go on to say that Clark and Kara kind of have a little bonding moment in this, while Kara is trying to show Clark the world, the empire, whatever it is, the things as she sees it because of how she's come up. I don't want to, like I said, I'm trying to dance around a couple of things, even though thing came out last Sunday. It's been like 6 days almost. But she comes to see things differently, which of course was going to happen. We get I think the official reveal of a Superman adversary, Big Bad, within his, who, in a timely fashion, also just ended up, well, I think it's still probably going on, but the ends of a book event starring this character is going on in the DC universe, in that corner of the universe. So while another one is actually ramping up, excuse me. Yeah, not much else to say outside of the fact that Kara apparently finds out that she has something in common with Viltrumites, with Mark Grayson.
Right. Right.
And that was the thing that was like, granted, these shows kind of are done in a in a time of way, but you can't help but think there might have been a little bit of inspiration / influence in that. Who's to say, who's no? Regardless, it worked out for the way it worked out. So, and then at the end, we see some people come in that at first I was like, wait, why are they here? And then I saw who was with them. I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but at the same time, still, why are they here? Like, I know why they're there, but it's like, okay, I wasn't expecting them to go this far with that. So, but of course, it continues to make sense. So otherwise, that, hey, it was still a pretty good episode for the things that they kind of dropped, the little Easter eggs that was kind of dropped in here that I hope actually does end up playing out into something, if not in this show, then another show in the same universe, or a couple of other shows in the same universe, I guess, potentially.
Right.
So, Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you got something else to say about the about that.
No, no,
Cool. All right, then
no.
let's get
Pretty straightforward. It's
yeah.
pretty straightforward. I like the comparison to Invincible.
Mm,
So it was familiar, but still different, obviously, because we still have so much Superman and Supergirl lore,
right.
and seeing that be the twist that they put on the introduction of the character,
Hmm.
obviously reflects, like you said, a little bit of the times. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so that was like okay, that was interesting. Yeah, and it's going back to your what you're saying about the Supergirl character and her, her history. Um, with that other character, yeah, I don't know how much, if anything, of that is the case. Like that may have been there may have been something of that, and that doesn't and there's definitely nothing that was out of the live action show. But you can kind of see where they've been basically cherry picking stuff from here and there. Like I told you last week with the her and Jimmy thing,
mhm.
it's kind of out of that. So I feel like whatever part of that was cherry picked out of actual comic history or they just decided to do for themselves. It works out. They've been making some fairly decent choices with what they choose to use.
Right.
Some of it's like okay, but like the whole hey, Superman's got this and that and the other thing just there. Like what happens in this episode.
Sure.
And then ends up finding out, oh, well, don't need that. But at the same time, depending on which version you go with, that was a thing. Anyway, that was my adventures with Superman. We're going to get into the books of the week, starting off with.
Say just real quick
Oh, okay. Go
on
ahead.
this week's episode of The Boys.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yes, yes.
It's all right, because ultimately Roddykat's just not interested in watching it. He may, when the series is over after another season, come back to it and watch it as a whole. But ultimately, we see a few storylines continue to develop. There are in this episode some really great touches when it comes to what they do with experimenting with compound. With let's call it anti-compound V, with some interesting results, and those interesting results result in some comedic moments that are gory, scary, but still lighthearted, which is that's just the way this episode and this series goes. There is a sad turn of events in this episode when it comes to Huey and his family. So be prepared for that. It's actually pretty affecting depending on your personal history, but otherwise, this series continues to roll forward. As I said, so many of the plot lines are developed in this, and there are a lot of plot lines, which makes it hard to really spend too much time with any one particular character per episode. But we'll see how it goes as the series as this episode as the season that is winds down, as the final episodes start to come out soon. And that's it for The Boys.
All right. Now we're going to get into the week, starting off with Blood Hunt number 4.
Alrighty, Blood Hunt number 4 is written by Jed MacKay, with art by Pepe Larraz, color art by Marte Gracia, and letters by VC Corey Petit. I think the one thing I will say before I hand it off to Roddykat is we've had a decent time reading Blood Hunt. It's not great, not bad, it's a decent time, right? Yet I found myself when I was reading this thinking, was this all an extended, drawn out way for Jed MacKay to bring back a character that he had found a way to get rid of?
And I agreed with him on that. Pretty much said yes, it probably was.
Yeah. So just as a quick addendum to that, and we had talked about it last week. So we had started to see something that popped up in the Black Panther tie-in, and we saw more of that develop here in this issue. And I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
So yeah, so what some folks thought was going to be the case with the big bad has been revealed here, and it kind of is what it was, and that's where the Black Panther tie-in comes in. This issue also kind of brings in the Strange Academy tie-in,
Right.
For a thing, and in relation to what Agent 70 is saying, and in bringing back a character, we see who was that third member that was with Tigra and Hunter's Moon, and I definitely was not expecting who that ended up being. And
that was fun.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I was like, you know what? Okay. And then the explanation that was given in that, I'm like, you know what? Okay, that's pretty good, Jed McKay. That was pretty good. Hand claps for that one.
Right. I mean, given his propensity for pulling out not the most obscure characters, but maybe characters that have been sidelined or just not prominent recently, that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And it was no surprise to me that he would pick from this particular level of character,
Right. And with the tool to be able to make things happen.
Right.
The thing happened. I was like, okay, very good. So we also see, let's see, I have it in my notes coming out of the last issue. Not the first time we see a strange building or such thing in Central Park. Landing in Central Park.
Right.
So that thing, some would say could be Shades of Secret Wars or any other thing that, or when the X-Men lived there for a moment, and any other, any number of other times, the Avengers were close by, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so that one kind of, I don't know if that was an intentional thing or not, but I was like, you know what? Hey, sure. That's the thing that usually happens there.
Of course.
They end up, the strangers end up going to help from I'm not even gonna say the most surprising person, but sure, the person you probably wouldn't first go to for help in a situation like this, and of course, they being who they are reveled in it.
Right. Right.
And which is going to set up, I guess, what is going on in the part of Blood Hunt and what else is going on in Doctor Strange's book, as probably well as that. But I guess it was because it's usually most of the tie-ins are 3 issues, so I guess that last issue of Strange Academy tie-in.
Right. And I'm glad that you mentioned the Strange Academy tie-in because obviously you mentioned that earlier, and I wasn't surprised when I saw it.
Right.
I was like, oh, so that's how the Strange Academy tie-in literally as in.
Pretty much, right. Yeah, because like I said, it was just a matter of like, okay, so what's their deal in this outside of the Darkhold thing? But then if you read that last issue of that tie-in, it's like, okay, you can start.
Exactly.
You see it. So, and here it comes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's really nothing else to go into it. This is actually a potential click of the week, weirdly enough, for me, because of some of the moments that we talked about.
Listen, Pepe Larraz's art on this was really good. He was humming on this one. It was really clicking because there's a lot of things happening.
Yeah. There
are a lot of things happening. Some of the expressions that he gets to draw are just really spot on and really just, pardon the term, expressive. Because there are some faces that, that artists draw, let's face it, that just don't emote at all. They don't express any sort of feeling or surprise or being startled. His facial art, his art when it comes to people's faces and expressing emotions, feelings, and mimicking speech is totally spot on. It's one of the best. He's one of the best in the business at it. And if you flip through Blood Hunt 4, you get to see a few examples of it.
Yep. And with that, we're going to continue down the Blood Hunt train with another tie-in. As I flip through some of the variant covers of issue 4, Midnight Suns Blood Hunt number 2 of 3.
Midnight Suns Blood Hunt number 2 of 3 is written by Brian Hill, former guest of this show. Art by Herman Peralta, color art by Arthur Hesley, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So, one of the things that we had been missing so far actually happens in this Blood Hunt tie-in. We do get an appearance by Blade, kind of. Mm-hmm. We also get to see some Ghost Rider and Johnny Blaze action, but we still don't know how this all ties in with the Ghost Rider miniseries currently going on. But the Ghost Rider, the Ghost Rider series going on, right? With the whole the Hood thing going on. Like, how does that tie in? What's going on?
It will,
like we do in a sense understand it because it's the original Spirit of Vengeance and the Johnny Blaze Spirit of Vengeance. The Zarathos that I believe is Zarathos, who occupied. It's not Zarathos anymore. I know it's changed,
right?
But the bottom line is, we still don't know how that's resolved. We just get to see Johnny Blaze running around like it's the 90s again. We've made that joke before. This is the second time because this is the second issue. But but yeah, it's still kind of different to see that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's kind of worth saying because it's like, well, I was going to say it's because of the anniversary, but that's not necessarily the case. Like, you know what? Hey, people are using. How many other times are you going to get the Midnight Suns together? The original crew at that, and it makes sense in this respect for them to try to do something when you have an event that's just would make sense for that to happen. If anything else, especially with quote unquote one of their own. So, which I will go so far as to say is, by the way, this was checklisted before Blood Hunt number 4. You don't necessarily have to worry about reading it before Blood Hunt number 4.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, yeah, there, like Agent 70 said, there was a cameo appearance by Blade, quote unquote. And again, a question was asked, which probably would have been, which was the same question that was asked last week in relation to that. So, like I said, it doesn't really mess with anything going on. If you read like I did Blood Hunt 4 before you read this, but ultimately the crux of this issue was that hey, all of the crew had a dream and they ended up going to Chicago because of said dream, to some hospital because of some reason. I think some reason that we find out about near the end of the book, and also cameo appearance by Blade. That's pretty much that. And got one more issue to go out of this, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And will the Midnight Suns get back to their original mission, or will they more than likely end up here? and this will be where they where this thing stands. Probably the case. We'll see. That being said, we got one more book to talk about, which is the Spectacular Spider-Man number 4.
Spectacular Spider-Man number 4 is written by Greg Weisman with pencils by Humberto Ramos, inks by Victor Olazaba, colors by Edgar Delgado, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So finally, our lead hero characters figure out, guess what? It's a trap! but they don't necessarily get out of it because the characters who built this trap figure out a way to keep both Spider-Men in the trap, but we do find out who's behind, the setting of this particular trap. And with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat.
Which I gotta say, on the note of what Agent 7 has just said about the, keeping them in here, that was pretty smart between, or at least one of them. But
Right.
all right, they don't normally show that level. I mean, they do within it.
That
until
level
it
of
starts
cunning.
Yes. Especially when things start to unravel like that, and usually that's just kind of it.
Right.
But I was like, okay, that was unusually smart. All right, that was pretty good. But yeah, it was a mixture of the Parker luck and a sibling of one of the characters ends up being the saving grace in here to kind of partially snap them out of things. But it was all in service of kind of getting said, the next level of the trap that came up on the fly with Arcade on the ones and twos to get sprung, which will of course potentially lead to spider on spider violence, as it looks to be the case. I think there was a variant cover that kind of already had shades of that already. Yep, there we go. There's that one. So yeah, continuing to be entertaining book. Oh, and also on the other side of things, you got the police still trying to figure out what's going on with another part of the story that may not be related to this one that is going on right now, but possibly still setting up something coming to come after this.
Right.
Because at first you think, I'm like, that's got to be related to this one. No, not really. Not from, because they keep going with that, and it doesn't seem to be tying into this. So we'll see how that works out. There was some pondering of feelings, of which I hope, as Agent Sumner and I was talking about before the show, hope is not just relegated to being just here, and that comes out, in one of the characters' books, one of the main characters' books, I should say. Because I would like to see it, some more talk about it.
Right.
Past this, let's just say. Yeah, outside of that, like I just said, we saw who's behind this thing, and they're going to come into play. So we'll see what happens with that.
Right. It's interesting to see this character pop up after all of the wreck. Well, this character had basically been wrecked in some of the. It wasn't the well. Was it the well story?
Yeah, Gang War.
It was Gang War. Okay. Yeah, it was
believe
Gang
those
War.
were-
I apologize. Listen. I tried not to remember too much about Wells's run so far.
Yeah,
I literally was hanging out with at an event with at Matt Wang 97 last night, and we were both kind of grumbling about hate reading Wells's run. We're excited that it's been announced to be ending soon.
Yes, which actually I don't think I put that in the.
Yeah, shout out to at Matt Wang 97.
Indeed, friend of the show.
Absolutely,
very much so. Which I guess we'll have some news and related to him. Or an event coming, a real world event coming up very, very soon.
Right.
And with that, yeah, that's it for Spectacular Spider-Man. Second, these would be good. I wish I still had that stinger with Spectacular Spider-Man to keep me from singing it. I do have it. I just didn't put it in my thing.
Sure.
But yeah, Spectacular still being pretty good. It might be a book that ends up on my my poll list at some point.
Nice.
And with that, we are going to go into rapid fire.
Alrighty, folks. Guess what? We do not have a lot of books in common, so rapid fire reviews may take a little while, but we're going to try to get through them as rapidly as possible.
I ain't got time to bleed.
All right, Absolute Power Ground Zero #1 is my first book in rapid fire reviews. This is from DC Comics. This is the lead in into the Absolute Power event that's going to start off, very soon in the month of July. Ultimately, this is the second part of the story. We got the very first part of the story in the Free Comic Book Day DC book that describes how Amanda Waller is taking this gigantic swing against all of the superpowered beings in the DC universe. The creative teams are multitudes in this. There are like 4 sections, maybe 5 sections with different creators, and that reflects, I think, several aspects of the story that are probably going to be detailed by these creators during the miniseries and any tie-in. So that's why they broke it down like that. Next up is Blood Squad 7 number 2. It's written by Joe Casey with art by Paul Fry, colors by Francesco Segala and Gloria Martinelli, and letters by Russ Wooton. No, this book is not related to Blood Hunt. That was my joke the very first time I read Blood Squad 7 number 1. This is from Image. This imagines a team that is very much in the in the tradition now of the boy, not the boys themselves, but the seven in the boys universe, more corporate style superheroes. But guess what? That actually is something that was pioneered to a certain extent by characters in the Image universe that are no longer in the Image universe, and hence the creation of Blood Squad 7 as kind of a stand-in for them. Ultimately, though, we start to see how the characters here are reforming the team in a sense, because some characters have been out of the game for a little while, and now their corporate overlords are bringing them back, and one of them is kind of having some serious issues, which may lead to the central conflict of this story. Next up is Daredevil number 10. It's written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Juan Cabal, colors by Jesus Abertov, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. This is definitely a potential click of the week for me because you get to see the story of Daredevil and his recent return really coming to blows with the realities of just what happens. We know that the Parker luck exists. That was actually an element of Spectacular Spider-Man this week, but the Daredevil luck is not that far behind. The Matthew Murdock luck is not that far behind. Things almost never go all that well for Daredevil, and you start to see a lot of that stuff come back to him, even though he's been reincarnated as a Catholic priest doing the work, doing the Lord's work in an orphanage. Bottom line, though, if you're into seeing Daredevil kind of come to grips with a lot of his past and trying to move forward with Elektra, maybe without Elektra, and with some characters kind of rediscovering their roots in this issue. If you're into that, if you're curious about it, pick it up. I really enjoy this run on Daredevil. Next up, and I believe last on my list, is Spider-Gwen The Ghost-Spider number 2. It's written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Federica Manchin, colors by Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Ariana Marr. I hate to say that the art in this book kind of took me out of the story, but it did. And I had to kind of flip back to it after taking a quick break because I just couldn't keep flipping through it, and that's a bad thing. No, I don't mean to be so harsh, but someone needs to step in, I think. The story is still okay. We still don't have a complete understanding as to what Gwen is doing in the 616, but that's obviously the overarching story here, and I'm willing to stick it out. My hope is that this is just a one-off on the art and it just gets better. That's my hope, and that's it for me.
Alrighty, and here we go with mine. I thought I was gonna pull out a soundbite, but I wasn't. First off, for me, and remember, and just seeing a book that I didn't get a chance to read, but I did end up buying for some strange reason. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Void Rivals number 10 starts it off. Written by Robert Kirkman, art by Lorenzo de Felicia, colors by Patrick Depeche, because I guess he's in the Depeche mode. Letters by Russ Wooten. Another potential click of the week for me because we get that's the fight that started last issue kind of gets settled potentially for now. But the main thing about this issue is we get to see how the Zertonians and Nagorians fit into the Energon Universe, and the short answer is quite importantly. And I think there's probably been some people out there who saw that already coming, and I think one of the letters in the letters page kind of bore that out in one case, sounds like. But one of the characters, Solilla, was given a quest, which reminds me of the quest to find Vector Sigma, and it's not that far different, including its own Trion, having its own Trion, but not Alpha Trion, if that character is familiar with you from the Transformers universe. In fact, the character is similarly named. But like I said, we first find out the importance of the two peoples and their relation to the energy source, fuel slash slash fuel slash food slash whatever that this universe is named out of, and what they have to do with this. So this apparently is a very important book. Or in an important enough book to where it wasn't previous to this. This pretty much filled that all up. Next up is Black Widow and Hawkeye number 4 of 4. Written by Stephanie Phillips, art by Paolo Villanelli, color artist Mattia Icona, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. This is the last issue of this miniseries. So this is pretty much has been a character study of the relationship between one Clint, Barton, Hawkeye, and one Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. As the story kind of flips back and forth from the past to the present, and in this particular issue is that continues to be, and the parallels in between what goes on in the present and what happened in the past is still noted. Clint and Natasha kind of get to a place at the end of this, and there's a revelation of what's actually really been going on in this story that is brought out here. So, and Clint learns to accept the symbiote, which I still haven't. So he's better. So he's better than me at that at this point. And there is that. Next up, Ultimate Black Panther number 5. I think Agent 70 is going to read this at some point, so I'm not going to spoil too much of it for him. If I'm not mistaken.
Which book?
Ultimate Black Panther number 5.
Yeah, I think now I'm 2 issues back behind again.
Okay. Written once again by Brian Hill, art by Carlos Nieto, color artist David Curiel, and letters by VC's Corey Pettit. So, we may or may not have, as I jokingly say in my notes, have been introduced to the Ultimate Universe's version of Mysterium. Not necessarily, but let's just say it has something to do with an element that Killmonger and Storm had told T'Challa about, and which led T'Challa and Shuri to study said that element, and we now know why the Acolytes of Ra and Khonshu want it, and the history behind it, and may possibly already have, may end up having some at the end of. Next up is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures. Excuse me. Continued, number 14. Story by Eric Burnham, art by Sarah Meyer, letters by Ed Dukeshire, and the colors by Luis Antonio Delgado. So Mr. Og brings all the pretty much a bunch of the past Teenage Mutant past and future, excuse me, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles of the '86 cartoon era, by the way, into play for this last round of this contest against the Turtles. We are potentially introduced to a future villain that's going to come into play in the next or a set of, I guess, villains that will come into play next issue, because this particular story is dealt with, and let's just say there was a lot of semantics involved and fourth wall shattering that led to things being over here for this particular story. Next up, Godzilla versus Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 2, number 3 of 5. Which that is a long enough. If that last title wasn't long enough, this one absolutely is. Go. Story by Cullen Bunn. You're going to hear that name again very soon. Art by Baldemar Rivas. Colors by Andrew Dahlhaus. Letters by Johanna Natalie. So, the Rangers in Godzilla and Jet Jaguar are pretty much scrapping against the newly minted Dino Cycle Rangers that were introduced last issue. There's some more time. Well, it's not time. Dimension hopping going on in this issue when the Rangers gotta go to help other dimensions Rangers and try to fight off these the Psycho Rangers at the same time with sometimes help of Godzilla and Jet Jaguar and their handler, and which leads them to, if you are familiar with Godzilla lore, a certain island with a certain set of tiny twins, which also leads to another monster that comes in with that package, who joins the fray, but also leads into a dimension hopping trip in order to, let's just say, power up the Rangers and give them a new set of powers that, while their powers were already Dino inspired, kind of adds a little monster upgrade to it, just in time for the command center to get attacked. Next up, I'm hoping Agent 70 has the thing ready for this, and if he doesn't, I will. But Gatchaman number 1.
Transmute.
One more.
Indeed. The second one was the one I was actually trying to cycle through to before the show, by the way. So yeah, that's, y'all don't get that privilege to that, but Agent 70 now knows what I was trying to do. But yeah, that's Gatchaman number 1. If you're watching the video version, you can see the cover, and if you're also watching the video, you can see me holding up the Sanford Green variant cover of what I also also picked up from the store. But the creative team goes as followed. Writer is Cullen Bunn, art by Chris Batista, colors by Carlos Lopez, and letters by Buddy Beaudoin. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I know the bold part is right, but I'm not sure how to pronounce that last part, so I apologize. But yes, this is Gatchaman. This is Japanese Gatchaman. This isn't Battle of the Planets, the English version of it. And I say that for a reason, because for those who might be familiar with this from Battle of the Planets / G-Force, there's some differences that are probably noticeable. In particularly, the names of a couple of the main characters. One, which I think kind of still stands within, in a couple of cases, it kind of stands with what you know it to be, but not really if you only know it by, say, Battle of the Planets. And on the bad guys side, the bad guys are Galactor, but think of Galactor as in Cobra, and not the big main guy that we usually see if you are familiar with the show Battle of the Planets, who in this universe, in the actual universe, goes by the name of oh shoot, how did I forget just that quick? Berg-Cats or Kates, which is a very Japanese name for a villain anyway. So I just wanted to put that out there for those who may pick up this book and like, that's not how I remember it. Well, you remember the English version, and that's totally different. Outside of that, still Science Ninja Team, a Gatchaman, and of course Ken being the head is the one they call Gatchaman. So all I will say with this, because I know Agent 7 is going to read this, is that if you have read the Free Comic Book Day book, you already kind of have an idea of what's going on in this issue. Right. So, and it just kind of keeps going from there this way, including a tease that came from the Free Comic Book Day that gets explored just slightly a little bit more here. But as tends to happen, hey, guess what? The team has to go up against one of Galacto's monsters, and it goes a certain way going into the next. And I think, actually, I'm thinking about the next book, which is Gatchaman Ken Deathmatch One Shot, written by Tommy Lee Edwards. And actually, let me get. There we go. Written by Tommy Lee Edwards, art by Mindy Lee, colors by Giada Marchisio, letters by John Workman. It's got a Workman quality to it. I'm sure some cinephile will be laughing at that again. Anyway, so yeah, this is a one shot off based off of Ken Gatchaman, where the team starts off going undercover, trying to bust up a Galactor deathmatch underground thing. But what ends up happening is Ken ends up by himself and dealing with things thusly. So it's a pretty good read, I don't think it has any stakes that will go back into the main story, because again, the issue 1 of the ongoing just came out. So, but this was just like a side story, or a side thing that happened in the same world that is surrounded by one character. There's going to be a few more. There's going to be at least 1 or 2 more coming down the line at some point. So, but if they end up being like this, hey, it's pretty good read. And may not be necessary, but still pretty good. Next up, we go back into the world of Blood Hunt with X-Men Blood Hunt Magic #1 one shot, written by Ashley Allen, art by Jesus Hervez, colors by Yin Nitro, letters by VC's Travis Lanham. So yeah, Agent 70 asked before the show, or you mentioned anyway, like, why or how is Ileana Rasputina in Blood Hunt? Well, they just got her in here on the side. It's plausibly explained, put it that way. But necessary, some would argue where it needs to be. Because it's not yes, Ileana's, you know, she grew up in limbo. She's got a lot of magic power. She's, you know, so this is not saying that this is outside of her wheelhouse, but you know, hey, it's just a side story with her because you know people like her, like we do, and probably doesn't have any great stakes during you know with Blood Hunt proper. There is a callback to something that was revealed in this week's issue of Blood Hunt, which is, I guess, is good that this was checklisted after that issue, because I guess that's when that reveal is starting to come out properly. So if you read this before Blood Hunt number 4, yeah, you might have popped up on something that was not yet to be revealed to you. Next up, though, in the X-Men corner with X-Men 97 number 404, written by Steve Fox, art by Salvin Espin, colors by Matt Miller, letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So this is the prequel to X-Men 97, the show. In fact, this is the last issue of said prequel. I don't know if it was because of sales or this was the intended stop for this. But the X-Men are celebrating at Jean's parents' house because of the coming of Jean's baby. And with the coming of Jean's baby comes a rematch with the Marauders. That gets dealt with here. And near the end of this, we see shades of things that get taken, that get brought up and dealt with during the course of season 1 of X-Men 97, such as Magneto and a certain person's will, a certain Brazilian getting their powers, a certain former liaison to the Avengers in jail, and you know. But also we get a reference to a classic Wolverine cover in one of the panels, and that was like pretty good. And of course another classic Marvel fight mechanic that comes into play here, which is pretty decent effect, of course, as it tends to do in situations like this. Next up, so yeah, if you're starving for X-Men 97 stuff, yeah, you can go check this out. Next up, though, and we're getting to the last of my books, and I'm sure I'm hearing people saying, "Thank God." That's Darkwing Duck, Justice Ducks number 4. Or do I hate? All right. Nope. Going without then. Cool. But yeah, Darkwing Duck, Justice Ducks number 4, written by written by Roger Langridge, art and colors by Carlo Lauro, and letters by Jeff Eckelberry. So, basically the Justice Ducks get called up because a new friend of Gosling's, whom Drake and Morgana met while going to the movies, all of a sudden disappears, and we come to find out why the character disappears, because they were on the run, and you know, the things happen around that. And of course, as what's been going on with this book, the crew were dealing with aliens, and one of the characters kind of called that out, which is kind of funny because I called it out as soon as I saw that they were dealing with aliens. So it was funny that a character in the book actually called that out as well. Sorry. And let's see. Next book is again another book that I thought I had pulled the cover for, which is Darkwing Duck, Nega Duck, number 6. I have to enunciate that. Script by Jeff Parker. Art and colors.
I mean, with the wrong accent, right?
Exactly. That could go terribly wrong. But art and colors by Ciro Cangialosi and letters by Jeff Eckelberry. So, the title character meets the mysterious cadre that wants to join him, and unsurprisingly is a weird bunch, but one that up to a certain point, Negaduck does not see themselves being associated with. How does that play out, though? Oh, you'll find out if you read the book. And actually, I do have the cover for this. There you go, right there. Last but not least is, excuse me, Green Arrow number 13, which I had to a chance to blow through really quickly. I jokingly have this on here because this is how it Diamond has it. It's issue number 13 of 12 because it was recently announced that it is now an ongoing and not a 12-issue maxi series like it was originally planned. But like I said, Diamond has issue 13 of 12, which is kind of funny. They've got to take that part off. But it's written by Joshua Williamson, art by Amin K. Nahulpan, excuse me. Still probably butchered that name either way. Colors by Romulo Fajardo Jr. and letters by Troy Pateri. So this is an Absolute Power tie-in because, well, definitely because Absolute Power is a line-wide event, and one Ollie Queen has been on pretty much in it for the last few issues in a way because he did a solid for Amanda Waller, who apparently he, as of this issue, went to work for, unbeknownst to his family, who were still kind of chilling on the island. And once they find out he's missing in this issue, went to go, or some of which went to go find him, and ended up finding out what he's basically they showed up to his new job and found out what's what. So and on the other side of that is Roy and Leanne, who went after Cheshire, who got nabbed by, I believe, Waller's crew, and that's how they ended up finding out about what Ollie's up to, who apparently is on Waller's side for some reason or another, which is explained in this book. And from that, Ollie gives up the name of his costume name, and someone else takes it up. And therein lies, like I said, the whole Absolute Power kind of going into part. And with that, folks, is it for me. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
Believe it or not, all those books read well before we were supposed to record. So, with the exception of the last couple, actually.
Right, because I got engulfed in some gaming stuff.
Yeah, I'm hearing things making me mad. Anyway,
Do you have yours, or because I think I've got mine?
What you got?
Pretty straightforward. Daredevil number 10. Although Bloodhunt number 4 was good this week.
That is true. That is true. All right. So, if you're watching the video version, you can see 70s click right there. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot a book. I just thought about this, or I'm just seeing this. I skipped totally over it, I think. Star Trek Defiant number 16 was I read. Christopher Cantwell wrote it. Art by Angel Unzueta, colors by Marissa Louise, letters by Clayton Cowles, and pretty much the thing that's been going on in the last couple of issues has been wrapped up in this one. A couple of people say goodbye, and they move on to the next story, which has to do with one conniving Romulan who has joined them up in the last issue or two. There is a character that left this book that I really liked, and I was mad that the character's now no longer there. But it is what it is. Now, as for my Kliq of the week, Bloodhunts is in there. Gatchaman is kind of in there by default. I shouldn't say that's not right. Void Rivals definitely is in there. Um, and I'm thinking Spectacular is always pretty good, but I think I'm actually going to go with Godzilla facsimile number one. Facsimile. No, I'm just kidding. Although that did come out.
Listen, I own the original one, and it's beat up, but I still have it. I didn't
Right.
buy it obviously when it came out, but I got it
Right.
as a back issue when I was a young kid.
Right. I saw the facsimile edition on the shelf, and I thought about you when I saw it. Which, if some folks did not know, Godzilla had a book from Marvel back in the day.
Where Godzilla was running around in the Marvel Universe.
Right. So, and now it's back. Well, actually not back, but you'll understand what I'm talking about when we get to a certain part of the news section.
Right.
But my click of the week is Void Rivals number 10, actually.
All right.
And with that, we can go into the news section, but first, our first ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. It's your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise such as custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now for the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles, you can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Funko through cspn.us. Do it today. Now we get into the news.
All right, folks, cinematic news as we tend to do about this time. Starting off with, come on, don't act up now. Star Wars: The Acolyte writer addresses Kai Adibundi's appearance and Phantom Menace quote, which is spoilers for episode 4 of The Acolyte, which don't necessarily need to go into, but basically, hey, Kai Mundi showed up last episode, being that character, the same character from the bringing a younger version of the same character from the prequel, and continuing to be wrong. And therein lies that. Next up.
One moment. That's so funny. All right. Scrolling. Andor Season 2 will feature more characters from Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So Diego Luna has revealed more characters from Rogue One will show up in Andor Season 2. Apparently, he said it at the Ace Superhero Comic Con 2024 that as the series grows closer to the events of Rogue One, fans will see more characters from that film pop up. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Not mistaken, the show is relatively close. Rogue One. Fishes that didn't, personally. Anywho, next up. Actually, I'm going to take these next two because they are related. Original Blade star pokes fun at Marvel's reboot after it loses the second director. Yeah, I saw this on Twitter where Wesley Snipes was like, Blade, lordy. Folks still looking for the secret sauce, riding snowmobiles in traffic, kind of rough. Daywalkers make it look easy, don't they? Was what he didn't say was motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill, which I was also expecting them to say, but alas, did not. And the follow up that, which was the reason why, well, partially was the reason why he said that, was because of the recent loss of the Blade, Mahershala Ali's Blade movie, lost its second director recently, of which we've talked about. We also come to find out that Mahershala Ali, who's according to this also is said to be increasingly frustrated with the project because of everything that's been going on with it, including the loss of, the loss of the directors and other people attached to the project, of which I believe he kind of, well, according to this article, he said he's been attached to it since 2019 and kind of wanted this project to happen, but yeah, it's been kind of hitting, snags left and right here. So I know people already have been out there talking about the fact that it's like, yeah, if he walks, then that's pretty much it from this, which wouldn't be surprised if he didn't after all of this. But this article kind of goes into all of the things that's been happening up until now, all of the issues that's been happening up until to now with this movie, which I hope still happens, but it is what it is. Next up,
Thunderbolts star David Harbour celebrates wrapping the project with a photo from the set. So I think we saw Florence Pugh post something.
mm-hmm.
Now we've seen a photo from David Harbour, which marks the wrap up of the Thunderbolts filming, and it is an image of probably a younger Red Guardian.
Yep. If you're watching the video version, you can see said Instagram post for yourself. Next up, Batman Cape Crusader trailer unveils new animated incarnation of the Dark Knight. So yeah, we got a new trailer for that for that Batman Cape Crusader thing. Actually, I should probably.
Did you skip a story?
Don't think so. What was skipped? No, I didn't. Mm-mm. Oh, yes, I did. I'm sorry. Take that one. Yes, I totally did.
You sure you don't want it?
No, go for it.
All right, let me open it,
and I'll go back to because I'll go back to these next two, and you take that one.
All right. Kevin Feige announces the start date of the filming for Fantastic Four and confirms its period setting. So Kevin Feige confirmed the film will indeed be set in the 1960s and announced an official filming start date. They start shooting at the end of July, which is a month away. And the day after Comic-Con is the first day of filming on Fantastic Four. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic Four life story. You heard it here first. I really know, but that sounds that sounds like it probably could be the case. We don't know.
Yeah, it's a period piece.
Right.
It's not an alternate universe. It's a period piece.
Right. So, kind of almost like Captain America: The First Avenger.
Exactly.
Which makes sense. So, and probably won't end. Well, it probably will end a somewhat similar way. We don't know though. So, but this is good to see because people have been waiting for this. Now then, I'm gonna go back to this that Batman story real quick. So yeah, the trailer's out there for Batman Cape Crusader, and I'm gonna take the next one actually, because it is related in the fact that, and actually it does say in this article, Hamish Linklater is the new voice of Batman, and will be the Batman in Batman Cape Crusader. Now, I don't know who this person is. I have not heard this person speak. But I have watched somebody recently playing one of the Batman Arkham games, and I miss Kevin Conroy.
Right. I won't lie. When I saw the name Hamish, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that spelled out ever on a page or a screen.
I have.
And I believe the last time I heard the name Hamish was Braveheart.
I was going to say, wasn't there a wrestler named Hamus, but it's Sheamus.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Which, why do I know that? I do not know. Oh no, well I knew now, right? Because I do remember I seen an image in my head that was going around with him and one of the Muppets because they had because him and Beaker has a similar hairstyle. That's what it was. Anyway, next up, you take this one.
All right. Late John Wick star Lance Reddick is voicing an iconic DC villain in his last TV show. So the actor will be voicing Lex Luthor in Kite Man. Hell yeah, that's literally the title, which is a spin-off of Max's animated Harley Quinn TV show. That's funny.
Which I have seen none of.
Same here. So Kite Man, hell yeah, arrives on Max this July 18th. My God, all this stuff happening. I'm, just if it were not for this show, I don't know if I would know.
Yeah, pretty much. Wow, we get to hear more Lance Reddick. It's going to be sad because I think they took his voice out of Destiny 2 and replaced him with Keith David. Which don't get me wrong, Keith David's great, but still. Anyway, Green Lantern series finally a go at HBO, and I guess I don't know if that was worded potentially like that, but okay, sure, yeah. So yeah, looks like Chris Mundy from Ozark will serve as a showrunner on the 8-episode drama and co-wrote the series with. No, let me stop. I shouldn't say that. Damon Lindelof. If you know that name, you know that name from Watchmen, Lost, and various other properties that name is associated with. I think, if I'm not mistaken, done the stuff a lot with J.J. Abrams, correct?
I think so.
Yeah, because Lost. Anyway, and Eisner Award winner Tom King, of course, known for his works on several Batman titles, Mr. Miracle and Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. And don't forget Vision. Doggone it. I know this is a DC thing, but still. Vision is still the joint. Don't get it twisted. But yes, they make a green light pun in here. And I guess the name of the show is called Lanterns. And it looks like they've been trying to get this going for like 5 years, according to this article. So there you go. It's a thing. It's they got it. Next up.
Alrighty, next up, Martin Mull, comic actor in Fernwood 2. Let's open up. Fernwood Tonight. Clue, Arrested Development, dies at the age of 80. So this news dropped earlier tonight, and we're sad to pass along this news to everyone. Apparently, he passed away on June 27th, a few days ago, after a valiant fight against a long illness. It was announced by his daughter Maggie on Instagram.
Also, my earliest Martin Mull sighting was, if I'm not mistaken, well, there was something earlier than that, but Mr. Mom, because he was kind of the jerk / kind of antagonist in that movie.
I actually watched that movie in the theater.
Same.
Someone brought, like one of my cousins actually, I believe, brought myself, made up like a family outing to go see. So.
Right. And also Clue I saw in the movie, which Clue's still one of my favorite movies. So, rest in peace, Colonel Mustard. Anytime Clue comes on, I'm watching it.
Gotcha.
But as we move on, Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5 is, quote, an amazing send-off, but not the end, according to the showrunner. So, creator Mike Mahan hints that Star Trek, if I said Star Wars, I didn't intend to, but sometimes that happens. But Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, let's see. Quote, he was a guest on folks. Don't know what happened there, but he was a guest on some podcast, um, and was talking about Star Trek Lower Decks and hinted at the fact that, hey, there could, even though the as it says here, it feels like the end of a chapter, but not the end of a series, which could be teasing maybe a movie or something. I don't know. That's speculation on my part, and this article also goes into speculation. Next up.
Alrighty. The Boy Season 4 soundtrack guide. Every song and when they play. So this is just a Screen Rant article that lists a guide for the soundtrack, and it basically contains spoilers for The Boy Season 4.
Yeah, this could have been in the clickbait session, I know, but hey, some people might be interested in that stuff, just in case it had something to do with that last episode. I don't know. Fallout Season 2 is coming as fast as humanly possible, end quote, quote unquote, according to Graham Wagner. So I know that Fallout show hit pretty well amongst fans of the series and some other folks who have come across it, and had a bunch of people replaying Fallout games because of it. So the quote here is, we are going as fast as we possibly can, and we've got a lot of heavy lifting from season 1 already done, Wagner told Hollywood Reporter. We have sets, assets, visual effects, and that are already done. We're hitting the ground running this season. We're going to be pedal to the metal to get season 2 out as fast as humanly possible. Let's hope the quality is still good with them getting this stuff. Because obviously, you want to strike while the iron is hot. Now, iron is still fairly hot for that show and franchise. So, cool beans. Next up.
All right, it looks like we're in Anime Corner now, right?
We are.
So, it's taking its sweet time loading, but I can tell you that Blue Lock Season 2 anime premieres October 5th. And it's Saturday, October 5th at 11:30 Japanese Standard Time, and will air for 14 episodes. So I'm assuming the simulcast will be soon after in the United States.
Mm-hmm. I having not seen any of the show, but kind of knowing the premise, it's basically Haikyuu but soccer.
That's my understanding as well. Haikyuu's still better.
I figured you were going to say that, but a little biased, but hey, you know what? You know,
more than a little biased.
And also have not seen Blue Lock, so that hints that. But I don't know. Some of these sports anime are curious. There are a couple of that I've watched and have enjoyed amusingly enough. But yeah, the two just mentioned are neither. Speaking of, actually, original bowling anime Turkey gets a clean sheet with a key visual. So yeah, this is the first visual coming out of the show, which is basically quote unquote cute girls with sports. That is actually me saying that, not this article, but that's pretty much what it is. See, the new key visual shows the 5 main girls of the cast demonstrating their form as they step into the line. You can see said visual if you're watching the video version of the show, which is actually kind of funny because I've been watching some bowling lately, and I don't recall seeing people roll a ball like the person, if you're watching the video version, in the foreground, with the shortest one with the glasses, holding it with 2 hands. I have actually seen people bowling like that professionally, and that is wild to me because I had never seen that before recently. But anyway, there's a teaser trailer that was released earlier this year. We probably talked about it, and yeah, that show is coming out next year, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, 2025. Next up,
the original Trigun anime reboot / prequel known as Trigun Stampede from series creator Yasuhiro Naitao wowed fans and critics last year with stunning visuals from Studio Orange, and now you can experience it on demand thanks to a new Blu-ray release. So you can choose from a standard edition or a limited edition option that comes loaded with tons of fun extras. Let's see here, the limited edition comes with Project Seeds patch, Geniora rock drink coasters, a 12 by 18-inch copy of the Bernardelli Times, and 3 art cards. Let's see here, release date and price, nothing yet.
I have not finished this, and partially because of the fact Millie never showed up on the show I saw, and I'm kind of upset.
Understood.
But I'm slightly joking. But no, actually, I have intentions of going to finish watching it because it was actually pretty good. So, but it was a bummer. Anyway, speaking of Trigun, Stampede, and Beastars, the anime producer teases updates, which I believe are going to happen at Anime Expo 2024, which is, I think it's coming. I thought it was going to happen before now, and I thought there was going to be an announcement. But I think, hang on, sorry, let me get, yeah, next week, actually. July 4th through the 7th is when Anime Expo 2024 happens. So look forward to possible seeing some more announcements on the show after that. Let's see, Yoshihiro Watanabe teased that Orange Studio unveiling a showcase at Anime Expo 2024 may include updates on the Trigun, Stampede, and Beastars anime series. The event may take place at Petrie Hall Panel Room on July 4th, 2024, and begins at 11 a.m. Pacific for attendees. So yeah, and then, you know, this article kind of goes into what potentially could pop up there. Next up,
Solo Leveling producer teases the anime's next move. So this comes from a social media post. Let's see. So from the animation producer Atsushi Kaneko, hyped his appearance at the Anime Expo event and teased some new things are on the horizon. He says Solo Leveling is gearing up for a whole new batch of things for July. Okay.
Yep. Ooh, next week ought to be pretty good. And in off our anime corner, going into the manga corner, top 10 most anticipated summer 2024 anime to watch according to comicbook.com. Is there anything known? Oh yeah, so Suicide Squad Isekai just came out. Or wait, did it just come out? No, we just got we did get some we got a trailer or something, or we got the opening, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. No, it did start. It started the
Oh, it started. I thought I saw like a picture of it.
It did. First 3 episodes came out actually. So and it is on Max because I did go out there and see it.
Yeah, still not gonna click on it, but okay.
I'm gonna check it out at some point. Probably might not be anytime soon. But outside of that, as I scroll through this list, they got Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, I guess. I don't. Who are these people? Tower of God Season 2 is probably going to stoke some people. Outside of that, yeah, I don't know none of these outside of those mentioned. Out of this list. But if you care to see, you know, anything on this list, hey, go for it.
Give it a shot.
Yeah. Next,
you may have to download it. I was going to say you may have to download it for like a plane trip or a train trip or a long car ride. You know.
Oh yeah, the anime fans will. They already know the ways.
Yeah.
And with that, we go into the manga section.
Alrighty. Scroll. My Hero Academia. Oh, you know what? I should have done this one. Because it might as well be a My Hero soundbite, right?
Right.
So, because I hadn't scrolled all the way down yet. My Hero Academia ends in August 2024. So the manga is ending for good in August 2024. As author Kohei Horikoshi has announced there are only 5 chapters left. So, an X/Twitter post from My Hero Academia confirmed an August 5th, 2024 end for the beloved manga, which will wrap up after 430 chapters and almost a decade of appearing in Japanese manga magazine Weekly Shonen Jump. Wow.
Yeah, there is actually on that note, in the clickbait section, another article that Agent 70 was talking about earlier before the show, also, by the way, which y'all don't, I don't even know why I said that. But My Hero Academia's finale is coming, but the series may not be over. And this article kind of goes into what, potentials could happen after that, because they basically say that, hey, you can continue in that world, if not, even just because the series is over. But also,
I,
go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is this article also goes on to do a little bit of conversion math, converting the manga chapters into the anime adaptation. And the anime is going to end sooner rather than later, but it's still probably going to have a few years to go. So the latest episode that premiered in Japan last week tells the story of chapter 351 of the manga, meaning there will be roughly 80 more chapters to adapt when all is said and done.
And best believe they're going to try to get their money's worth.
Right.
Also, there's only 5 chapters left. Just to quote Busta Rhymes. Anywho's, we found out some news on that G Gundam project, which, as it turns out, is going to have a new serialized scenario story on July 5th, not an anime, or at least not right now, anyway. So, Sunrise Bandai Namco Filmworks revealed that the quote-unquote special project for Mobile Fighter G Gundam anime is titled Hito Budoden G Gundam Gaiden Tenchi Tengaku. Got through all of that. And it will be a serialized scenario story that will debut in the anime's official website. Does say in, not on. July 5th. The announcement indicates the project is a text story, but does not state the exact format. Probably could be a web comic also, but we don't know. It says here that the story is set before the finals match of the 13th Gundam fight. The tournament from the anime, where 5 mysterious Gundams make an appearance, calling themselves the Dark Shuffle. And G Gundam anime director Yasuhiro Imagawa is penning the story. Yeah, there you go, G Gundam fans, because I know y'all are out there. Next up.
I don't know who this is teasing a Super Saiyajin 4 reveal, because I've never heard this character, that this person voiced this character.
Stop.
So
oh boy.
So apparently, in a recent appearance, the actor behind the English dub of Son Goku in Dragon Ball teased his return to Super Saiyajin 4. The confession was given at Anime Riverside as the event brought together several Dragon Ball stars. It was there that this person's name is Sean Schemmel or Skemmel?
Schemmel.
Schemmel?
Yeah,
the English voice of Goku. And he spoke about his work on the franchise. It was there that Schemmel said he's been reviewing his performance of Super Saiyajin 4, and that is thanks to a new Dragon Ball game, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. The only Goku I know sounds like this. I don't know. I don't know who this person is. I don't know what y'all are listening to.
Close. But yes, folks in the know who this. He knows who. Well, I assume he actually does know who it is. He just because of, even though he doesn't. But you know what? Ain't no telling with Agent 70. Sometimes he probably does. But that is the current verse of Goku in the English dub.
Because I have principles.
Stop it. Hey, we love English voice actors here, so whether we listen to them, or not. I was going to go into the history, but people already know about the history of Goku's English voice actor, so I don't need to. Berserk is getting a board game, apparently, and not the video game Berserk, but you would have to be of a certain vintage to even know that part. So, yeah, Berserk is the dark fantasy series starring Guts, a brutal swordsman on the path of revenge against his former friend Griffith, not Andy. And apparently they're making a board game out of that manga, and it's coming out from Monolith Board Games. So that company sounds familiar for some reason. But they announced they were developing a miniatures board game based on the manga series, which was originally written and drawn by Kentaro Miura. And it goes into the game system, and the fact that this is a thing, but we don't have any more information outside of that, like price or anything. So, Monolith Games, according to this, is known for making large box board games, notably a Batman miniatures game, and other games for the likes of like Conan and Solomon Kane. And next up,
just some interesting business news. Hasbro sees an end of an era as the last founding family member leaves its board of directors, that being Alan Hassenfeld, because a member of the Hassenfeld family has been on the board since its founding, and the founding was done by the senior Hassenfeld, Alan's father. I'm looking for his name in this. It doesn't look like his name is. But bottom line, though, is if anyone has seen the toys that made us, you'd understand who these people are. And he stepped down. He's still alive. Thankfully, he's still alive, and he's off doing other stuff. But he has stepped down from active decision making for the board.
Right, but according to this article, he's still a stockholder, an influential one.
Right.
And I don't know if Agent 70 had this inclination, but I had to stop myself from calling this man Hassan Pepper.
Oh, Hassan Pfeffer. Yeah.
So, there is that.
Yeah, it crossed my mind.
Figured. Similar, of a similar vintage. So, not surprising. Now we're getting to some toy news here. So Transformers Generations unleashes new toys for an infamous franchise. Some would say the former rivals of the Transformers. Some would call them bootleg Transformers. And that would be the GoBots. So the new Transformers Legacy United Generations Selects Deluxe GoBots Guardians 3-pack, that's a mouthful, contains 3 action figures that might initially resemble familiar Cybertronians. In actuality, they're versions of GoBots from the classic GoBot series from the Rivals 1980s franchise, till All in One. Released amid both properties' 40th anniversaries, these toys provide collectors with both mighty robots and mighty vehicles, according to this article. I was about to say, hang on. So if you're looking at the video version of the podcast, you will see the picture of the 3-pack. And this 3-pack are very clearly Transformers. because the one at the top, that's Cosmos, but just differently colored. The one at the bottom, that's Warpath, differently colored. Now, this last one, I can't remember the name of that one, but that
Gears.
one's, yeah, is that Gears? Differently
It
colored
looks
Gears?
like Gears.
Yeah. So maybe the GoBots thing is because of the the colorizations they've done, but those are
Probably.
very clearly Transformers. I had 2 out of the 3 of those, so I know those Jokers.
Funny. That's funny.
Anyway, next up.
All right, I had to take a look at that article to see what you were talking about. Let's see. Some hot pre-orders: Autobot Dramatic Capture, MP lift ticket, Masterpiece lift ticket, and a DK2 guard. So if you look at this article, you get to see several Japanese first products recently revealed and listed by Takara Tomy in the international markets are now available to pre-order via Western market retailers. Okay.
We got a Prime, we got a Jazz up in here. That was Pathfinder, but I guess that is lift ticket. Which I think lift ticket, and I think G.I. Joe. So, but yeah, you can see the photos of that right. Next up, though, Hasbro reveals exclusive Star Wars, Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Marvel figures for Comic-Con 2024. That well, actually, there wasn't affirmation because I took that out. Never mind. Transformers Legacy United Voyager class Fractured Friendship 2-pack, which is basically versions of Optimus Prime and Megatron. You can see the packaging right there. More packaging, some more posing there, but also G.I. Joe Classified Series Cobra Commander, and they have the caption, the side caption, "Once a Man." So I guess this is as he's turning into Snake, but he can still apparently hold a gun. You can see that picture. Let's see what else we got. Marvel Legends Death's Head. Go. We got a Darth Maul Black Series with Speeder, and I think that is it for the Comic-Con exclusives. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, the Death Set was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I never thought I would see the day. Never.
I'm pretty sure British folks either would say the same thing.
Right. So, you know, like the UK Death's Head. I mean, listen, I was surprised when we got the other Death's Head, like the modern Death's Head.
Right. That's, I mean, I don't know. Wait, yeah, the price is here, $40. For the Death's Head, and actually $40 for the Cobra Commander also, and $75 for that Transformers. The Dark Maul is $60. If you're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con and get any of these, I guess you can let us know.
Yeah.
All right, next up.
So Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu #0 brings Mark Spector back. Surprise! Spoiler alert. In a surprise comic book. So yeah, this is kind of coming out of the events of Blood Hunt #4 that we talked about today. So apparently, to herald the launch, comic shops this week received a special surprise shadow drop variant edition of Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu #0. So it's going to, the main cover of the book is going to drop next week on July 3rd.
You know, there was a bunch of books that sometimes are laid out at my shop on top of the stacks. Well, I would not have known this was going to be one of them, so I was kind of glancing at what was out there. And I didn't see this that I recall, so I'm curious if these are going to be out there next week. If you were watching the video version, you can see said variant cover of Mr. Khonshu #0. There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. The first issue drops in October.
Right.
So you can get, your comic shop can order a copy of 0 for next week.
Right. Yeah, delivered for a 7/3 on sale date. Right. Which, yeah, Reminds me of a story that I'll tell Lady Stephanie about after. But yeah, so we knew Mark was coming back. And said, well, we actually didn't know, but figured the potential was there for Mark Spector to come back at some point because comics, and the fact that it was so soon in the in the event by the person that killed him, also not surprising.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, once again, written by said writer who killed him off in the first place. Next up, though, Marvel's new Blade series comes with a parental advisory. Shout out to our man Tim Adams for this story. So yeah, Blade is going to have a new series coming out of Blood Hunt. And apparently it is going to be a 5-issue miniseries written by Brian Edward Hill and CF Villa doing an art. So yeah, Brian Hill wrote the last Blade series, which was like 10 issues, and get to continue writing some more Blade with this joint. And he's also writing a tie-in to Blood Hunt. So there you go. If you're watching the video versions, you can see the red band variant cover by CF Villa right there, and apparently, yeah, they're gonna be going for it in this next series. Keeping the red band stuff going, folks. Which is going to start. Blade Red Band #1 goes on sale October 9th. There you go. Next up.
So, according to Marvel writer Chip Zdarsky, in an interview with Popverse, he had to change some details of Avengers Twilight because apparently he presaged the January 6th attacks because he had been working on this since January of 2019, and when January 6th happened, he had to adjust a few things so that it didn't look like he was basing what he was working on the events of January 6th. So yeah, basically, there's a couple of things that Zdarsky says that Marvel massaged some of the text to not evoke the January 6th attacks, and just a few other details that they adjusted.
Let's be honest. If you've read that story, you would probably still think it.
Of course.
So, I guess they did what they had to do, but look, I know good and well I still thought it.
Right.
But anyway, I'm gonna skip that poll. Next up, Mystique goes to deadly lengths to protect what's hers, a new solo series. It's 5-issue miniseries written and being written and art by Declan Shalvey, which is going to arrive this October in the From the Ashes era /line of the X. Which I suppose this probably is, without reading this article, probably came out of the wedding that wedding issue. Because that seemed like it could have potentially set up, what they were getting into coming up. I don't know if you ever if you went back and read that issue.
I did.
Okay.
I did, where they were, it was all a front for robbing somebody,
Right. Which I thought was fun.
Right. Okay.
But
all right,
yeah.
so that's the article, but it looks like the link changed, right?
Did it?
Because you had an Ultimate Spider-Man #7 first look.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah, the Marvel articles do that sometimes, like when you try to,
just
on
checking,
Google Sheets.
Just checking. I had to open it just to make sure you didn't put in a new article.
No, that's just the way Google Sheets sometimes with Marvel articles does. It's weird. Right. I don't know.
No, I absolutely understand because I've had issues myself with putting these links in. Anyway.
Right.
Next up, Godzilla marches across the Marvel Universe in new variant covers. In celebrating the reprinting of Marvel's classic Godzilla comics, new Godzilla variant covers hit the stands this September. So this year, Marvel Comics proudly reprints its classic 70s Godzilla comic book series in Godzilla #1 Facsimile Edition and the highly anticipated Godzilla, the original Marvel Years Omnibus, collecting Doug Munch and Herb Trimp's entire 24-issue run in color for the first time. I actually have the black and white printing of the omnibus in newsprint, and that became a collector's item unexpectedly because of, obviously publishing and licensing rights. So to celebrate this exciting collaboration with Toho International, obviously during an anniversary year for Godzilla, the Japanese studio's US-based subsidiary has brought has partnered with Marvel Comics to produce brand new Godzilla variant covers on select issues this September.
Yeah, and I'm trying to scroll through the.
It's different. So the Avengers #18 variant cover is Shin Godzilla.
Hmm.
So that's cool that they actually had somebody draw Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, like I said, I'm trying to go through some of the variant covers in this articles and really not trying to help me out. But there's a Dazzler one, which is kind of cool looking. There was an Avengers annual one.
Oh yeah, because it's not letting you click through.
Yeah,
Same as
like once I get to a certain point, it just goes to the next
just
article.
blinks out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. That's an article. That's Marvel's site. Anyway, or it could be Chrome. I don't know, but it stands to reason. Anyway, so yeah, but you can check the show notes for yourself to check out the rest of the variant covers. Some of them look actually pretty cool. Next up, though, after 59 years, an original Teen Titan finally faces an opponent worthy to be your greatest enemy. Spoiler alert for Titans 12, number 12. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wait, are you still reading Titans, or did you?
I fell off.
Okay.
I fell off. I admittedly fell off like right after Peace World.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't even get that far, and I had started reading that myself. So, but basically, apparently Donna Troy has something has happened to Donna Troy, and she rolls up on according to this, Vanadia, a tragic android creation from Dr. Morrow, which I was about to call Android 18, but yeah, it goes on from there. I won't spoil it or anything, just in case either you or I actually pick that book back up again. But apparently, Donna Troy is in another place. Next up, though.
I mean, listen, Donna was always, like in terms of the Titans, Donna was always at or near the top of my favorite, my list of favorite Titans characters. So,
well, then you might be upset about that if you read that then. But anyway, next up.
I mean, I'll take a look at it, but
I understand. Doesn't stop anything.
Yeah.
You want to take?
Anyway, all right, next one. One moment. Oh, you want to take this Turtles one?
No, go for it.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles IDW relaunch is set to feature cameo-laden connecting covers. So, you're going to see a lot of Easter eggs in these connecting covers. So you can see connecting covers for issues number 1 and 2 in this article, which form one half of a larger montage by artist Danny Earls and colorist Jao Canola. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
it's cool. Yeah, it's actually cool looking. Going through the images there, but there is the full shot for those watching the video version. That's issues 1 and 2 are going to be connected. Next up, though, IDW Publishing former EIC Jamie S. Rich speaks for the first time on his exit and the quote know-nothings who twisted the story. So yeah, I can't remember if we talked about this or not. We probably did, but I don't know. Earlier this month, news came out that IDW Publishing's editor-in-chief Jamie S. Rich has left the company. It was first reported by Bleeding Cool. This departure came following the departure of 2 other senior editors at the company. Since the news went public, speculation has been rampant. According to this article, for journalists, comic pros, pundits, and fans about what's happening at the company. This has led to significant speculation about what this means for IDW. Has its 13 months removed from its self-described reset. How that sentence went, which resulted in 39% layoff of its employees. So to cut through the speculation and hyperbole, Pop first went to Jimmy S. Rich to ask what's going on, and the rest of the article pretty much has bites of that. Read it for yourself in the show notes. Next up,
Jim Henson's Labyrinth celebrates its 40th anniversary with an all-new graphic novel adaptation. So Boom Studios' Labyrinth graphic novel adaptation will expand on the dark original fantasy world created by Jim Henson in the 1980s fantasy film. Readers of Jim Henson's Labyrinth will dive into a maze of possibilities as writer Kyla Vanderklut and artist Giorgio Spalletta re-envision the classic story in comic book form. Okay.
yeah.
This is looking for a date. Looking for a publication date. Looking for a publication date. Still scrolling. Nope, I don't see it yet.
September.
Oh, wait, there it is. I see it. September 18th, 2024. Okay.
Cool. Fans of Labyrinth rejoice, I suppose. Connor Trenier and Dominic Keaton launched Decon Chamber podcast, and season 3 of Investigates is on the way. So, so these are basically the podcasts from members of Star Trek shows. I guess in addition to the one, but not in the same place as the one with Garrett Wang and Robert Duncan. The one they're doing that is rewatching Voyager shows. This is different ones. So those 2 first names are from Star Trek Enterprise, and they are, they're returning with a brand new video show, kicking off with the biggest Star Trek guest. Let's see. And this article also goes on to say that Gates McFadden, who is apparently was going to be on season 3 of her podcast, is still going strong, which I still haven't checked out. Let's see. Apparently, the Decon Chamber, which is which is Kinnear and Keating's podcast, is being produced by some folks who David Zapone, Joseph Cornbrot, and Lolita Fat Joe, who I believe, didn't she just pass? 455 Films, the company behind What We Left Behind in the upcoming Voyager documentary. That last name definitely has been associated with some Star Trek shows. I've seen that name pop up plenty of time. I hope I'm not killing someone off, because when that happens. But while Agent 70 goes and does the next article, after I say, let's see, the Decon Chamber is an audio podcast. It's going to also be on YouTube. They're going to have Shatner on first. Their second guest is Terry Farrell, aka Dax. I was going to say the one true Dax, but that's not fair to the other young lady, the other lady. And upcoming interviews include Sonequa Martin Green, Mary Schiffo, Scott Bakula, and more Star Trek captains, as well as scientific advisor Andrea Bormanis, who consulted on multiple Treks. And there's a promo of the Decon Chamber for those who are interested. Next up.
One Decepticon leader's alt mode seems to hint at the return of a classic Megatron form. So Shockwave's arrival on Earth during a pivotal battle potentially spells doom for the Autobots in the Energon Universe era. And yeah, this is like stuff that happened in the most recent issue. And Shockwave's Energon Universe alt mode is revealed as a quote unquote laser pistol. Guess what? That's the classic incarnation.
Yeah, it is.
So readers seem to be taking this as a hint that Megatron could return to his classic G1 alt mode also.
Yes, and also I put this in here because there was I didn't, well, I kind of hinted at it when I talked about Transformers #9, but there was a letters page in that issue that not necessarily hinted but explained the mass shifting that would usually go on with Megatron and Shockwave when they change into their alt forms. You know, like on the show or whatever the case may be. And I thought that was kind of funny. And you know, obviously Shockwave as his laser gun, laser pistol, as per right and proper, does indeed give way to Megatron when he finally gets into when he finally shows up in the book proper. So yeah. Next up, though, G.I. Joe's Scarlet teases Game Changer for the Energon Universe. And this is, I guess, well, this is not spoilers, but I guess a tease for Scarlet #4, which according to this Screen Rant article, so take it for what it is, teases a major game-changing reveal that could alter the trajectory of the entire Energon Universe, proving each of its Energon series so far have been pivotal in one way or another, which we kind of have seen with this week's Void Rivals. So sure. But so yeah, and this is coming off of the solicitations for September. And it has to do with a certain Ninja Clan who has gotten into some other stuff, and we'll leave it at that until we talk about the book. And last but not least,
Skybound is launching G.I. Joe #1 in November 2024. That is specifically November 13th, written by Joshua Williamson with art by Tom Riley. This is the creative team behind the Duke book. Alrighty. Looking for price points. Scrolling, looking for price point.
Yeah, I don't think it has one.
It doesn't have one. I literally just got to the end of the article.
Because when I read this article, I was like, I didn't see one either. But yeah, not surprising at this. But yeah, so this is exciting for two reasons. Because one, we did not know. We knew the book was coming somewhere near the end of the year, but they had never said when. They had never given an exact date for the book up until now. Like it was, it was kind of speculated to be October, November. In fact, I felt like I saw a date at some point early on, but you know, but also with the coming of Destro and Scarlet, I think things had kind of changed regardless. So yeah, I am happy to see this book coming, and everything they've been doing so far on that side of the universe has been pretty good. I ain't mad at it at all. And that, folks, is marks the end of the news section. Can we get one last ad read?
Our last ad read of the night is for Amazon. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment. I got to switch this up. 1 second. It helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today. I was just reminded I had a little bit of Toy Corner. I'll just take a few seconds to talk about some Marvel Legends I picked up this past week.
Let me put the thing on. Hit it.
So first up, I did in fact get my own leisure suit Wonder Man, like Roddykat.
Nice, nice.
There it is. But then I also ordered, because I saw some of the prices had dropped, one of Cap's old school enemies. That is a Baron von Strucker, complete with I believe it's the Satan's Claw. That's his weapon, right? That's the red gauntlet, right? But the capper, I won't lie, the capper on this is a figure I had been putting off getting for a long time, and I finally saw the price kind of dip to the right level. It is one of the more in demand figures from recent waves, and this is from uh, the the card back Uncanny X-Men wave. And that is Spiral.
Oh,
There,
there
there
we
we
go.
go.
Find it.
There.
There it is.
The Spiral is very popular amongst collectors because the folks at Hasbro really did an excellent job in working around some really funky characteristics. Obviously, the fact that she has 6 arms. So by really making that work, this figure became very much in demand when after it came out, and I missed out on it initially because I was never that big a fan of Spiral. But when I realized that the figure was going to become hard to get, I had to exercise a little patience and wait for the price to hit a good spot, and I was able to get it. So thankfully, but yeah, that's it for Toy Corner for this week.
Nice. And with that, before we go on, well, we're about to end anyway, but
Yeah, Joe.
I guess I was close. So, good to come to find out that Lolita Fat Joe is still alive, thankfully, and I didn't kill her prematurely. But yes, you will probably know that name as the production assistant on various Star Trek shows. I remember seeing that name a lot. I thought it was, and I always thought it was Fat Joe, the rapper, every time I did. Go figure. But with that, folks, we come to the end of this here program. Let's see. I should have asked this earlier, but as far as we know, next week being July 4th, Independence Day here in the States, I'm not sure whether we're going to. As far as I know, we could. I mean, if we want to, but I don't know if Agent 7 has any plans.
Right. I don't have anything active that could keep us, but just to be safe, be prepared for maybe recording Friday as well.
Right. So, if not, hey, we don't.
Actually, I was about to say, actually, Friday may not work either. So just be prepared. Be prepared for our schedule next week, folks. It's always interesting when things fall on Thursdays, and next thing you know, we end up recording like on a Sunday.
Yeah, indeed. And with that, you can follow along to check out and see when we record live or any notifications they're in on such as follows. I am Ben Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. If Meta can keep from botching their AI filters, they calling real photos AI, then hey, maybe the thing will stay around, or those properties will stay around a little bit longer. Who's to say? You can find this here podcast on the Coastal Luther Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Luther Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts.
And you most of the times you can find us recording on Thursday nights. Which is not one of them. On the channels, excuse me, on the YouTube channel of The Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/The Kliq Nation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Yeah, make sure to click like, subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when we are on live and direct recording as as we are known to do on mostly on a regular schedule. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, to be fair, we do have a regular schedule. It's just never not strong, but a lot of times it ends up not being on the day of, but we definitely get hit it the week of for certain.
Right.
So, but speaking of the Twitch channel, yes, there will be more streams coming of the video game variety for comic book based stuff. In fact, I'm thinking about what the next couple of that I want to do, but things have been kind of busy lately. Who knows? Maybe we might get Agent 70 on there doing some streaming, since now he's back. He's back video gaming again.
I mean, never say never.
Yeah, we might be able to coax him into playing something on stream. Who knows? But I would have to set him. Well, he's kind of already set up, but I had to get him set up for doing that himself. But that being the case, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
My time is up. Peace out to Brooklyn.
Good evening, Ring. Would you believe